4 actors, 1 car, 1 road, and 1 small product placement for Cliff Bars is all you really need in order to get a movie made, and that's pretty impressive. It Ends played at some film festivals last year, and then it released on the Letterboxd video store. Did you know that was a thing that exists? I didn't even know until they announced that they were selling this movie on there. But I guess you can rent certain movies for a limited time, such as this one, that don't have distribution yet. But it now finally has distribution. It's in theaters. I saw it a little bit early at a mystery movie, and this is an interesting one to play at a mystery screening, because if you go in expecting a horror movie, your expectations might be wildly different than what this movie actually ended up being, because it's not really horror. You got these 4 friends, haven't seen each other in a while, are catching up, and they're driving along a road. They make a turn onto this smaller road going through the woods, and it doesn't seem to be going anywhere. They don't see their turns. They eventually turn back. Maybe they got lost somewhere, and the place they came in at is blocked off by trees. There doesn't seem to be any way to get off this road. So obviously a horrifying idea. That's actually one of the most horrifying ideas to me personally. It's why there have been so many movies made like that, specifically in forests, in large groups of trees. The idea that you can enter a place and then some magic occurs and you can just never leave no matter what you do. There's no hope, there's no escape. That's haunting. Once they're on this road, everything is stagnated. The car doesn't run out of gas. They don't get hungry. They don't get tired. They can't go to sleep. Even though time seems to be passing, like there's a day and night cycle, and as they drive on, there are certain differences among some of the things that they see. It doesn't seem that they're in a time loop. They're just trapped on this never-ending road and are unsure what to do about it. There's other people in the woods, and you don't know what they're gonna do. There are some horror elements early on, as they're just getting into this situation and worrying about what might happen to them, for sure. But as the movie goes on, it really just becomes this psychological drama as the characters all deal with this situation in their own ways. From the logical elements, like, okay, let's sit down and actually discuss what this might be, why this might be happening, what we can do about it. And then once that's over with, because it kind of seems hopeless, how do we cope with it? And each character copes in their own different way. And at the end of this video, I am going to go into spoilers for a little bit, because this movie is very metaphorical and certain parts of it are open to interpretation, and that's one of the more interesting elements of the movie. It's kind of the point. And so I do want to discuss that a little bit. That'll be at the very end. I won't spoil anything until then, and I will leave a timestamp so you can click straight to that if you want. But before I go into spoilers, the 4 main actors here do a really good job. Like, they feel like genuine friends, they have a good camaraderie with each other, the dialogue feels pretty natural, and as we go deeper and deeper into the situation, they mainly behave like people would. Like I said, discussing their options logically, and then once each one kind of starts to deteriorate, as you would, you're stuck. I mean, there's nothing to do. It's not even like Groundhog Day, where he can at least go do things in the town and go to sleep, even if he wakes up there the next day. They can't even sleep. They have 24 hours of just driving on this road in their car, of nothingness, just each other's company. It would psychologically destroy you. And so as they start to lose it, like, it makes complete sense why. I think these actors all portrayed these roles very well. And it's just impressive that you can make a movie like this with so little. This is the director's directorial debut for a feature film, and I'm curious to see what he does next. This is not like some kind of incredible, groundbreaking project, but for a first-time film, going out there and making what you can make with the limited resources that you have, and also a bunch of like background extras and whatnot. It's just nice to see somebody make something, and something that actually does have a point. It has something to say. The meaning of it all, I think, is pretty obvious. Like, even before you watch the movie, you just find out the synopsis, like 4 young people trapped on a never-ending road. You can kind of figure out what it's probably gonna be saying. But as it goes along and you understand like the character arcs that we're dealing with, and like what these characters are learning about their lives and how far they're willing to go, who's willing to push through, who's willing to give up, who is focused solely on getting to the goal, and who is trying to enjoy the journey along the way. Like, it actually has some things that, even though the movie gets slow at times and even boring, intentionally so, it has left me with some things to think about. It's one of those concepts that feels like it probably should have been a short film, but then again, having long stretches where not much is really happening and the characters are just sitting there miserable in the car, that's kind of the point. You kind of have to have that. It kind of has to be boring at parts. Maybe if it just leaned a little more into being a horror movie, it did carry over some of those explicit horror elements throughout and were sprinkled a little bit more in the movie throughout its story. Maybe that could have helped. You could have had the like monotonous sections and then all of a sudden you get a moment of really good tension and that kind of helps with the pacing. Something like that, maybe. But as it is, like, yeah, I did get a little bit uninterested in the middle, but also you kind of had to make it that way. It's an interesting, like, student film type of thing, and I don't even mean that as an insult. I mean doing what you can with limited resources, making a statement about how you view life, and getting it out there for people to see, and I think that's pretty cool, and I'm curious to see what this director will do next. You just have to know what you're getting into. Don't go into it expecting much horror, really, at all, and don't go in expecting groundbreaking cinema. It's a low-budget, indie directorial debut that's very, very simple. But it is a fun and scary idea, and it's a great test of, like, thinking about what you would do. How would you respond in that kind of situation? I think I'd lose it real fast. But I also appreciate some of the self-awareness in the writing. One of the characters starts apologizing to his friends for various things, and it's like a genuine moment, and then he goes, "Damn, I thought that would work." And I always think about that kind of thing. Like, if I'm in a Groundhog Day type situation, I'm gonna be thinking, okay, maybe me becoming a better person is the solution to getting out of this. But the fact that I'm thinking that kind of like hinders it, because now I'm not doing it to be a better person. Now I'm doing it to free myself. And how would I ever lose that self-awareness? How would I ever stop thinking that? Like, if I know that might be the solution, then I'm always going to be thinking about it unless I'm stuck in there for thousands of years and my mind just deteriorates enough. It's a scary thought. But anyway, a lot of people are going to say this is boring, and I wouldn't even disagree, but I do appreciate some of what was being done here. And now I want to get into spoilers and talk about the ending and mainly the journey of the character James and what it's all really trying to say. So let's get into it. Talk about the meaning behind It Ends. I think it's pretty clear that the road is life. James, at the beginning, is someone who is not really participating in these little activities with his friends as much. He's not really enjoying himself as much. He's even got this negative outlook on life, the things he's describing he wants to do. Like, yeah, I'll get this job, they'll pay me this much, I'll settle down, whatever. Kind of going through the motions, describing these things as if they're just the things that are expected of him. They're the things he's supposed to do in this society, this culture, and he doesn't really have much passion towards it. He's focused on what he's gonna achieve, but it doesn't seem like he's really enjoying much along the way. And then as they're driving along the road, that's exactly how he behaves, as his two friends who are remaining with him after a while start kind of making whatever they can out of it. Like, they're trying to preserve their sanity as much as they can. They get up to these little games. They get out of the car and scream and let out their anger. They try to still experience the full range of emotions. They're learning other languages by reading the car manual. They're doing whatever they can, and he is solely laser focused. Get to the end of the road. There must be an end. There must be something there. There must be a point. And then eventually, when it's just him left, he does in fact get to the end of the road. And what is it? It's just the end of the road. That's it. It just ends. And that's kind of how he was picturing his life to be. I'm gonna do all these things, and then I'll get somewhere. You know, there'll be a point to it. It'll get me something. But what will it get you? It'll get you to the end. It will just stop one day. And what will you have really lived for? What will you have meaningfully accomplished? You could say it's a commentary on capitalism and like being forced to work mundane jobs that you don't give a shit about just to get to the end and realize that you wasted a whole bunch of time. You could just say it's a commentary on life in general and how so much of it is mundane. But he realizes, like, I should have eaten that Cliff Bar. I was so worried about the risk. I was so focused on getting to the end above all else that I wasn't even willing to enjoy that. I should have done these things with my friends that they wanted to do, because maybe those were the moments that really mattered. Maybe life isn't just about getting to the end. Maybe it's about enjoying the smaller things along the way, the things like the little game they were playing at the beginning of the movie where they're like, what kind of animal would you pick to defend you and which one would you want hunting you? He thought that was just kind of stupid and he dismissed it. And at the end, he picks up this stranger and he realizes maybe those little stupid, waste of time type of things are a big part of the value of life, and he should have been experiencing those the whole time. And unlike people in the real world, he actually has a chance to turn it around, because he can literally turn around and maybe try again. Even if they can't get off the road, even if they can't escape the cycle and the society, they can at least try making the best of what they have. So it definitely feels like it's coming from the perspective of a young filmmaker who's worried about the future and like, is this all there is? Is this the path that's laid out for us that we're forced to follow along? And what can we do about that? Like the concerns facing the world and the younger generations, while also trying to include a little bit of hope and a little bit of a message about how you can still appreciate a lot of the smaller things along the way. Like I said, I think it's pretty clear the entire time, but it especially gets hammered home at the point where they're outside of the car and they're yelling and James is like, is this all there is? Is this the point? Like it's a test. We got to pass the test or whatever. And his friend says, no, it's not a test. It's just this. Like at that point, it's pretty clear. Like, okay, yeah, you're just talking about life. We're just here. Why? I don't know. 'Cause what do we do about it? I don't know. Just live. Eat the fucking Cliff Bar, goddamn. So I like the fact that a small, simple little movie that I'm not going to watch again and that isn't like super memorable, at least has a message behind it and left me with things to think about. And, you know, as for all the particulars, like the people chasing them and the fact that he eventually gets somewhere where it rains, like little things like that might not have any meaning, maybe they do. A lot of stuff like that is open to interpretation, and you can actually go and look up people's ideas about all this, and I like that. I like that a smaller movie like this can invoke that kind of thought. So that's about it for now. I just wanted to cover that briefly, but leave your thoughts down in the comments below. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like, subscribe if you want to see more from me. I appreciate it, and I hope to see you next time.